What a weekend. Cruise Day nightmare unfolded yesterday as 3,000 plus passengers were denied embarkation. We also got some fat shaming going on over at Carnival and protest over the treatment of crew members. That plus a whole lot more on today's episode. Let's go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to La Lido Loco. Welcome to the Cruise Show. I am your host, Tony, here to talk you through everything going on in cruising. And wow, it's everything going on in cruising for your face on a Monday the 21st of July, 2025. I don't really know where to begin. Let's talk about what's going on with the Carnival Sunshine. And particularly, let's talk about crew members who have been pulled off of that cruise ship by Customs and Border Protection and deported. And this is a developing story. What we know at this point is that at least 18 Filipino crew members were detained and deported by Customs and Border Protection. Now, all of these workers had valid visas that allowed them to be, of course, on the cruise ship and operating and working in U.S. waters. They've all been deported, and not only deported, they've also been banned from entering the United States for 10 years. Well, this story is kind of complicated because advocacy groups there in Norfolk, Virginia, where this happened, worker advocacy groups are protesting this deportation, this detainment and deportation of these workers, saying that it's unjust. But these workers are accused of possessing materials that is exploitive of minors. The people that are protesting this action are saying that real evidence of that accusation hasn't been produced and that these folks are not getting due process. But it's, again, like I said, it's complicated. It's kind of political. I don't necessarily want to get into that. And look, this isn't the first instance of Customs and Border Protection going on to cruise ships and removing crew members. Just over the last month, we had a story coming out of the Great Lakes where I believe it was a Viking ship and maybe another ship where the Customs and Border Protection did the same thing with the same allegations. It's like I said, it's a hotbed issue and it's political. I'm not really sure where the truth lies, but so that's really the two sides. You've got one side saying that these folks were accused of something and therefore they should be detained and deported. And then you have the other side saying that this is not right, that, these folks had valid work visas and that the evidence has not been produced to, shore up the accusation. But either way, this could be an impact to cruising because if you start pulling off essential crew members from cruise ships, I guess where I'm at, if these guys are accused, I'm assuming they're all guys. If these crew members are guilty of what's being alleged, yes, get them off of cruise ships, get them away from people, get them out of the country. But if they're not, then it is very disruptive to obviously their lives, and it's disruptive to the cruise experience. So it's another one of those scenarios in a very complicated world that we live in where the truth is out there, but what is it? What is the truth? But yeah, protests going on in Norfolk over cruise ship worker treatment. All right, let's move on. Should we talk Carnival's fat shaming or should we talk about Cruise Day nightmare? I think Cruise Day nightmare, and that's certainly what this is. This is going down on the Celebrity Beyond. They're just finishing up a cruise, and during that cruise, Celebrity Beyond had a propulsion issue, and their engines broke in a way that they needed to be repaired. It delayed them returning to Miami by like half a day. So at some point, there were thousands of guests stuck a little longer on the Celebrity Beyond. And to Celebrity's credit, when this engine issue happened during the middle of last week, they reached out to their passengers that were set to sail yesterday on July the 20th and said, hey, look, we're having trouble. We're going to get back into Miami later than we anticipated. We have to do some work on the Celebrity Beyond. Be prepared for your cruise not to start on July the 20th, but rather to start on July the 21st, today. That was an email that passengers got just a few days ago. Celebrity Beyond got back to Miami, and I'm assuming that a lot of people that were going to cruise out of Miami on July the 20th got to Miami only to receive an email saying that their cruise had been canceled. That's wild. That's wild. The day of your cruise, I guess now that they shifted it a day, the day before your cruise, you get an email saying, yeah, your cruise has been canceled. Now, again, Celebrity, they do a good job of taking care of people in these situations. Everybody, this is well over, I don't even know what the math is on this, over 3,000 passengers getting a full cruise refund. And Celebrity's not inexpensive. A full cruise refund. They're also getting a 100% future cruise credit. If they use the future cruise credit to book this cruise, it got reinstated. They're also giving flight reimbursements, $200 for domestic flights, $400 for international flights, and they're giving a hotel reimbursement for $250. Now, there's a little bit of debate going on out there in the internets whether or not that is good enough compensation. I'm going to continue to say it's the curse of the Poop Cruise documentary. Since that doc came out, we've had all kinds of ships breaking down. It seems like fairly fair compensation, at least for the cruise part, right? 100% refund and 100% future cruise credit. So you're essentially getting a free cruise for nothing. I guess, now I don't know if anybody's flying domestically for $200. I haven't flown domestically for just $200 lately. So some people are saying that that's not enough of a compensation. And honestly, if you've ever tried to stay on South Beach in Miami, $250 for a night at a hotel probably wouldn't cover the cost. Maybe if you stay out by the airport or the Blue Lagoon, like they're going to shell out millions of dollars because plus they got to fix this. They're going to lose all the revenue from that one cruise. They're going to shell out millions of dollars and they still have to fix the ship. Hopefully they get it fixed by the next cruise. I think it's pretty fair compensation. But yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I mean, it would be a nightmare if they didn't compensate people. I think, by the letter of the law, they really don't have to. They really could say, look, you should have travel insurance that covers the breaking down of a ship, that covers all these expenses. So at least they're not being jerky that way. But I don't see how they could be jerky. If they were jerky that way, people would revolt. So, wow. Could you imagine going to the cruise port? I'm only 5 hours from Miami. Not a big deal. I could get back home. But if I drove down to Miami, got a hotel for the night, and then the next day I get up and I got my bag packed and I got on my best cruise day T-shirt and I'm reading the Vampire Lestat by J.K. Rowling's, and then I'm all of a sudden I get a ding on my phone and it interrupts my reading and says, oh yeah, that cruise you were thinking about getting on today ain't gonna happen. Just go home. That would be rough. That would be rough. Look, I know that J.K. Rowling did not write the Vampire Lestat, but yeah, I ludicroused the author for the first time. Sometimes we joke around a little bit. We credit every song that's ever written to Ludacris, and I thought it would be fun to credit a book to a different author to see how many people would talk about it, and a lot of folks did. So good catch, everybody. Anne Rice wrote the Vampire Lestat. Quickly, I just want to say I was in full FOMO mode over the weekend as I watched some of my friends and some strangers experience Carnival's first private destination, $600 million Celebration Key. I think I might have been most jealous of everybody that I saw in videos who got to see Shaq, which I'm not sure how they see him because he's not very tall. I'm just kidding. Shaq's like 7 feet tall. It's amazing to see. I would love to see Shaq in person. That would be wild. He was there with Carnival President Christine Duffy and Carnival Corporation CEO Josh Weinstein. They cut the ribbon and I tell you the thing that I've seen the most, I think it was on my buddy Doug Parker from Cruise News Today, Cruise Radio. I think he had some aerial drone shots of that lagoon. I love swimming in a pool over the ocean. I know not everybody's like that, but I'm excited when these private destinations have a pool. Like obviously Coco Cay has a pool, but some of those places don't have a pool. And you're just like, if you want to swim, you got to get out in the ocean with the critters. I saw Jaws like in 1977. I was pretty freaked out. It still freaks me out today. Darn it. Shout out George Lucas. The FOMO's not forever. I will be making my way to Celebration Key in September on the Carnival Conquest. After watching Travel Spree's tour of Celebration Key, I watched Travel Spree, Para DJ, There was a lot of people out there, but Travel Spree, they made a very astute comment that this is probably the least crowded it's ever going to be. And I think when I get there, I'll probably be FOMO about the no crowd that Travel Spree had. But yeah, did you watch any of the coverage? Does it look cool to you? It looks pretty nice. I'm excited for Carnival's efforts there, and I can't wait to see it with my own two eyes. And speaking of seeing things with my own two eyes, the world's largest cruise ship is on the move. It is on the move. The Star of the Seas, man, it's coming. It's coming to the United States. It left the shipyard in Finland at Meyer Turku shipyard. It made its way under some iconic Denmarkian bridge. I think it was a bridge that Hans Christian Andersen had walked over. I don't know. That bridge probably wasn't there at that point. But what I'm trying to say is it's getting ready to make its transatlantic crossing for arrival in Port Canaveral in Florida in early August. And yeah, I'm very excited about that. I haven't been on the Icon of the Seas, so I've got no idea what I'm in for when it comes to Star of the Seas. But I've got that cruise in just a little under a month on August the 20th. And so Star of the Seas is on the move. That is exciting. And now let's talk about the fat shaming that occurred over there on Carnival. This is kind of annoying, really. This is a message that was sent to Carnival brand ambassador John Heald, and it's from a person with the initial W. The message: I recently lost some weight. I am down 80 pounds. I'm still at 350 pounds. Take it from me, John. Do not wear shorts. I know you were joking about it, but I hope you will not. You should be very conscious about how you look, and fat men should not wear shorts. Wear long pants. You are representing Carnival Cruise Line. Try the Slim Fast plan. It actually works. Sometimes it takes a whole series of motivating factors, not just one. But in the meantime, try some compression wear. Have an awesome trip. So John Heald is down there. He's one of the bigwigs that's at Celebration Key. And I believe it was 90 degrees or something yesterday at Celebration Key. Or I guess the big thing happened the day before yesterday. But yeah, so he had to don some short pants and walk around Celebration Key in the 90-degree weather doing interviews, or just, kind of being your tour guide. They were filming him for Carnival. And I guess because he's a heavier dude, this commenter doesn't want him to wear shorts. Why can't people just leave people alone? Like, if John Heald wants to wear shorts, who cares? I don't know. There's something, there's going to be people that say, look, if you put yourself out there on the internet, people should be able to say vile, horrible things about you. That's the trade-off for trying to share a message, trying to, entertain people, trying to do anything on the internet. Because you've done that, you've opened up yourself to a social contract that people can say horrible, vile things to you that they would never say to your face. Yeah, look, I'm a fat guy wearing shorts today, and it's just a shame that you're judged by your physical appearance and not really the character of your outputs or your intentions or your heart. I guess it's easy to make fun of fat people, but I think it's really a shame. I think there's something really wrong with people that are okay making fun of people's appearances. And if you feel comfortable doing that, whether it's weight or aesthetics, the looks, I don't get it. I don't get it. But so in solidarity, I am, as a fat guy wearing shorts with John Heald. Wear those shorts, man. Don't be out there in the 90-degree heat trying to wear long pants. And I don't think he did. So what do you think? What do you think? What is the social contract? If people put themselves out on the internet, do you think that strangers behind a keyboard should be able to say vile things and you just suck it up, Buttercup? Some people are going to say yes, which I just hope I don't ever meet you in real life, because you're not somebody I'd want to know. That's just the way it is. All right. Thank you guys so much for checking out today's episode. That's everything going on in cruising. And now there's nothing left to do but dance. Get up. Get up.